Welcome again, folks, to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. So, the last couple of days, we have been going over some things that were in favor of the Judge Rotenberg Center from the parents of some of the students there. I wanted to get back to some of the folks that were advocating for more hearings on the GED, those who are opposed, mainly because I would prefer not to feel the need to vomit inside my mouth a little. So, we are going over today, real quick, the National Council on Disability letter to the FDA on taking action against the Judge Rotenberg Center. This is one of the first letters before the hearings really got going back on March 27th, 2014. So, here we go. Neurological Devices Panel of the Medical Devices Advisory Committee. Dear Commissioner Hamburg, the National Council on Disability, NCD, writes about forthcoming Neurological Devices Panel of the Medical Devices Advisory Committee meeting, scheduled to convene on April the 24th, 2014, to discuss the safety and effectiveness of aversive conditioning devices. As independent federal agency charged with advising the President, Congress, and other federal agency regarding laws, policies, and practices, and procedures affecting people with disabilities, NCD submits this letter as a sister federal agency. NCD strongly opposes the use of aversive treatments, including the use of all GEDs and other painful skin shock devices, and expressed this long-standing position in recent correspondence to the Department of Justice and Commonwealth of Massachusetts. NCD reiterates these views and recommendations here, as we believe it has great bearing on your deliberations. On March 22, 2013, NCD met with several FDA key officials, including Elizabeth Dickinson, Chief Counsel, to discuss the FDA's investigation on the use of the Graduated Electronic Declarators, GEDs, at the Judge Rotenberg Center. At the meeting, NCD strongly urged the FDA to expedite its investigation and quickly move forward with its findings. NCD has a long-standing history of opposing aversive treatments. As stated in NCD's 1995 report, Improving Implementation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Making Schools Work for All America's Children. It's possible to understand the desperation of these parents, to share their exasperation with ineffective programs and treatments, and to sympathize with them in their frustration to locate appropriate programs. There are limits to what society can permit in the name of treatment. There are those in our society who would advocate for severe physical punishment or even the mutilation of prisoners convicted of what everyone would agree are heinous crimes. Yet these prisoners are afforded protection under the law from this treatment, even though there are those who would claim that such treatment would teach them a lesson. Students with severe behavioral disabilities are not criminals, and yet present law allows them to be subjected to procedures which cannot be used on the most hardened criminals, or in some cases, even animals. Amen. Thank you. In 2011, the Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services, DDS, took an important step in protecting the rights of the future of JRC students by adopting regulations that greatly restrict the intentional use of pain as a form of punishment, including the use of electric shock, seclusion, and restraints on young children and adults with disabilities. While the Massachusetts regulations are laudable, JRC is still permitted to subject students that were previously admitted to aversive treatment. Further, there is nothing stopping the JRC from moving their facility to a different state to avoid the new Massachusetts regulations. In fact, the JRC has already moved twice since its inception, first from California to Rhode Island, following a student's death and subsequent investigation by the state of California, and then from Rhode Island to Massachusetts, where it's located today. Recent media attention has shed light on a long and horrifying history of the abuse at the JRC. One such incident occurred at a JRC group home in August 2007, when a prank call directed to staff to pull two children out of their beds in the middle of the night and shock them while restrained over 100 times combined, resulting in a need for hospital care due to burns caused by the GED device. Moreover, in 2012, video footage was released by a court showing an incident at the JRC in which Andre McCollins, an autistic teenager, was strapped to a table and screaming in pain, while staff administered 31 shocks to his body for failing to remove his jacket. This disturbing video has created worldwide outrage. Recent correspondence sent to the NCD further reveals the alarming treatment of JRC subjects its students to. In this email, a former student who was at the JRC for 7 years recalls the long-lasting and devastating results from the GEDs. This former student reports being burned many times, some which have caused permanent scarring, long-term loss of sensation, and numbness. Remember when they said no permanent harm? Yeah. She recalls several instances where the GED devices malfunctioned. She also reports to JRC staff inappropriately using the GED devices. Recalling the ghastly experiences, the former student states, "I was paralyzed with fear every day," and asserts life with the GEDs is a life of constant anxiety. The former student reports still experiencing frequent nightmares and flashbacks. Unequivocally, the use of GEDs at JRC has many negative physical and emotional consequences. Indeed, the JRS's own administrators have admitted that the GED devices are intended to hurt. Not only are the GED devices extremely painful for the students forced to wear them, but they have caused skin damage. So yes, folks, they've caused skin damage, permanent damage, numbness. So anytime you see it doesn't cause any permanent damage, they're lying. This was what I was talking about. Nearly 1/3 of the students who wear the GED device experience painful skin burns, some of which blister, second-degree burns. The use of electric shock is not a legitimate method of treatment for any person. Such measures who use against non-disabled individuals is already recognized as illegal and immoral, are contrary to the letter and the spirit of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act. Exactly. And excuse me. In the light of the effect on children and youth with disabilities nationwide, NCD is gravely concerned by the use of aversive treatments at the JRC, the only school in the United States to provide such treatment. We are aware that students from an estimated 18 other states and the District of Columbia attend JRC and are therefore potential recipients of such aversive treatments. As such, NCD views this significant issue of national importance, and the FDA's actions will have a national impact. The treatment provided at the JRC is contrary to federal policy and the findings of mental health research. The 2003 President's New Freedom Commission on Mental Health stated that restraint will be used only as safety interventions of last resort, not as treatment interventions. Similarly, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration has found that seclusion and restraints are detrimental to the recovery of persons with mental illness. The practices of the JRC are equally contrary to the Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act, which states in part, sorry folks, allergies. Is it summer yet? Moving on. The federal government and the states both have obligation to ensure that public funds are provided only to institutional programs, residential programs, and other community programs, including educational programs in which the individuals of developmental disabilities participate that meet minimum standards relating to provision of care that is free of abuse, neglect, sexual and financial exploitation, and violations of legal and human rights, and that subjects individuals with developmental disabilities to no greater risk of harm than others in the general population, and prohibition of use of such restraint and seclusion as a punishment or a substitute for a rehabilitation program. The objectionable practices of the JRC have not only attracted national attention, but have also been scrutinized internationally. In 2010, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture stated that the practices of the Judge Rotenberg Center in Canton, Massachusetts equate to torture and urged the U.S. government to appeal. The FDA must take immediate action and protect children and adults with disabilities across the nation by prohibiting the use of the GED device and other skin shock devices currently used by the JRC. The NCD understands that in order to ban a device, the FDA must make a finding that the device presents a substantial deception or an unreasonable and substantial risk of illness or injury based on all the available data and information. Unequivocally, the information provided in this letter, as well as significant social science research, demonstrates the substantial risk of injury encountered by the students at the JRC. Accordingly, the NCD urges the FDA to take swift action to ban use of the GEDs. Thank you for your anticipated attention to this critical issue. The NCD stands ready to assist you in ways that are collaboration and best benefit students with disabilities and their families while promoting safe learning environments for all students across America. We are available to discuss these matters at your earliest convenience. Please contact me through the NCD offices, and we won't go into any of that. That's all personal, but you're getting the picture here. This is coming from the National Council on Disability. So this is not just a small group of advocates, as the JRC keeps saying. This is not a small group by any means or stretch of the imagination at all, folks. This is a national organization within the Capitol itself that was demanding these hearings, who used the data provided by outside research institutes, testimony, documented evidence from hospitals, medical records, psych records. You see where I'm going with this. That's what got the ball rolling. And yes, yet they dragged their feet, and they're still dragging their feet. And because they dragged their feet, those kids are still suffering. And because they dragged their feet, the Judge Rotenberg Center is now appealing. And during that process, you better believe those kids are going to continue to suffer. So we definitely got to keep the noise on this. We have to keep on the pressure. We got to get this place closed down, because that's the only way it's going to stop if we get it closed down. That's the only solution I can see. Anyways, that's all I got for now. There might be another video much later, but I do appreciate your time today. Also, we don't get that many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this afternoon, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.